I'm Alex Savers and welcome to this trial lesson. Today we're going to be discussing Henry VII and his claim to the throne. Firstly, what we do before any lesson, we'd discuss with the student what we're intending to cover that day. So today we're talking about Henry VII and securing the English throne. Firstly, we'll talk about the domestic challenges facing Henry upon his ascension to the English throne. Then we talk about what were Henry's aims, securing the dynasty, shoring up finances and a peaceful foreign policy, and how he intended to achieve these aims. And finally, and probably most importantly, it's the application of the knowledge itself. So how can the student apply the knowledge they've just learned in this lesson to their exam answers to give them the best marks they could possibly get? So this would involve responding to past paper questions. So firstly, to start with, we'll discuss the claimants to the English throne. So Henry VII's claim was the weakest of any English monarch since William the Conqueror. Henry's claim was through an illegitimate line via his mother. So he had a very weak claim, and we know this is going to lead to problems because they've just come out of the War of Roses and he's up against Yorkist claimants. Other Yorkist claimants included the Earl of Warwick, the nephew of Richard III and Edward IV, John de la Pole, the Earl of Lincoln, another nephew, and his brother Edmund de la Pole. So these guys are all opposing Henry and have stronger, more legitimate claims to the throne. Furthermore, both princes in the Tower had not yet been accounted for. So these were the princes imprisoned by Richard III. So then we go on to discuss what issues does this create for Henry? How do you think the king would deal with these problems? What aims is he trying to meet? So we know he's always trying to secure his dynasty. So how can he overcome these issues to secure his dynasty for his heirs? Now we go on to further issues for the English crown. The Yorkists still had support in the north of England and in Ireland, and had a powerful ally in Richard III's sister Margaret, Dowager Duchess of Burgundy. This made it inevitable that other claimants would crop up and challenge Henry for this throne, as they had strong power bases in England, Ireland, and a strong foreign power in Margaret backing them. Many of the barons and nobles still possessed armies, known by contemporaries as retainers, that were a constant threat to Henry and the peace in the country. So this is the whole idea of overmighty subjects. So Henry had to ensure he, as king, was the most powerful man in the country, not members of his nobility. The crown's treasury was nearly empty after the 100 Years' War and the subsequent War of the Roses. So Henry had to really get a grip of finances and make sure he was in a position to be a strong king. Now we would ask the student, which of these factors is the most significant for Henry's rule and why? How would you intend to respond to these challenges if you were Henry? So what is of the most significance here? Henry VII, how he dealt with rivals to the throne. In 1486, he married Elizabeth of York, daughter of Edward IV, and in doing so, he united the houses of Lancaster and York. Now, many Yorkist supporters were now on the king's side and were prepared to give up the fight of the War of the Roses. Edward, the Earl of Warwick, a rival to the throne, was placed in the Tower. John de la Pole, the Earl of Lincoln, was made to submit to Henry, recognise him as king, and give up his claim to the throne, further securing the king's dynasty. The fate of the princes in the Tower was uncertain. However, there are an increasing number of historians who believe that Henry arranged for them to be killed. Which of Henry's aims did these actions meet? Why was there such a drive to subdue other claimants? So these are all questions we'd be trying to elicit from the student. So how do we apply this knowledge we've now just learned to our exam answers? So by applying the Peel structure, we can access the top marks. So this is an example point. By using a combination of political skill and force, Henry VII was able to swiftly suppress many of the legitimate claimants to the English throne. So the point is an important part of your paragraph. It leaves the examiner clear what you're going to be arguing, what you're going to be saying throughout this paragraph. So the example, Henry's marriage to Elizabeth of York united both the Yorkist house and the Lancastrian. So the example is the evidence you use to support the point. Explanation, the union of the two previous warring houses took away much of the support for Yorkist pretenders to the throne, securing Henry's position as monarch, as he had less internal threats to deal with. So this is the critical analysis. So now we're moving into what gets the students to higher tiers of marks. So by critically analysing, by saying what had happened, not only what had happened, but by saying why something's of significance and saying why this is important, this is how students can get their higher marks. Good. So now we're moving on to link. The linking point. This demonstrates Henry's desire for a secured dynasty for not only him, but also his heirs, and how he was equally able at playing politics as he was on the battlefield. So this linking point is often known as the mini conclusion. This is what we say. So you're coming to a judgment. So you're saying why something's of significance, and you're also referring back to the question to make sure the student themselves has made sure they've actually answered the question, and you've left the examiner in no uncertain terms about what you're actually arguing here. Once I've gone through the example and checked the student's own understanding, I would then encourage the student to write a paragraph using the same format, using this PIL structure to understand, to fully check their understanding and to make sure they're competent going towards their exams. Thank you very much for watching. Please get in touch.